Welcome once again, my fellow manipulators of digital fate. I'm Richie, this is Capricorn. Yesterday, I did a video that I said was the last of the leaks. And there was a question mark at the end of that video because I wasn't entirely sure that it was going to be the last of the leaks, but I was pretty sure it was going to be the last of the leaks because it is Monday now, July 7th, and spoiler season starts proper tomorrow, Tuesday, July 8th. So I didn't think we'd really get any more. But we did actually end up getting two more cards. One of them is an official spoiler that was a story spotlight for the ongoing story that's happening for Edge of Eternities. And the other card is the actual full card leak for Dawnsire, which is a card that we saw in that last video, but we only saw kind of a little bit of that card. The original leak for that card only really showed us the name and the cost, and the set symbol and the art, and that was really it. Everything else was covered up. So now we actually have the full card to talk about, and it is a doozy. And like I said, we also have another official spoil card, so I figured it was worth it to do another video to show you guys these last little bits of spoilers before spoiler season starts proper. But I am going to remind you guys, spoiler season tomorrow. We are going to get slammed with a ton of spoilers, and I will be here jamming them out for you guys as soon as they drop so that you guys can see everything as soon as that information's available. So if you haven't subscribed yet, definitely hit that subscribe button. You're in the right place. And please like the video. It helps me out a bunch. I appreciate it more than I can possibly express with words. I really mean that. You have no idea how much it helps. But we're going to dig right in here. Also, be sure to catch me live Monday through Friday over on Twitch. That's twitch.tv/quarantinecapricorn. Because if I'm alive and I'm breathing, I'm there and I'm streaming. But let's do the thing. We're going to start here with the official spoiled card. And that's Temporal Intervention. This is a sorcery for 1 black and 2. And it has a void ability. So this spell costs 2 less to cast if a non-land permanent left the battlefield this turn or a spell was warped this turn. Which means you're only spending 1 black mana to play this if you meet one of those requirements. And what does the card do? Target opponent reveals their hand, you choose a non-land card from it, and that player discards that card. So this could potentially be a discard spell that hits literally any non-land card in their hand for just 1 black mana. Thoughtseize, anyone? Except you don't lose the life. It could be kind of insane. Now, granted, you do have hoops you have to jump through, right? You have to play it maybe in a sacrifice deck so that one of your non-land permanents leaves the battlefield, thus, you know, getting the 2 cost reduction. Which is going to happen a lot more often in sacrifice deck. It's also worth noting that it triggers if one of their permanents leaves the battlefield as well. So you could use like a cut down to kill their little guy, and then immediately for 1 black mana just make them discard whatever's the best card to hit in their hand, which is kind of nuts. But then there's the other potential hoop to jump through of warping something instead. We already saw in one of the leaked videos a couple days ago, and if you haven't seen all that stuff, I'm gonna link the spoiler season playlist in the description of this video and in the comments. You guys can check that out. I have a bunch of different videos covering all of the official spoilers, all of the leaks that have happened thus far, and that's all available in that playlist. So check that out if you want to make sure you haven't missed any spoilers or any leaks. Because we did see 1 black card leaked just recently, that 1 black mana to warp it, right? And so potentially warping that for 1 black mana and getting the value off of that card, and then also then playing this for 1 black mana is another really cool play line. And I like that there's 2 different ways you can kind of avoid that extra 2 mana cost. And that means this can be usable in different kinds of decks. It's not just, you know, pigeonholed to be in like a sacrifice deck or something like that. And so yeah, I think there's a lot of different ways to use this, and it's interesting. Before we move on, the one last bit of info about this card that is the most interesting to me is that this void ability is sort of like a keyworded ability, right? Void. That makes me wonder if there are a bunch of cards mechanically within this set that have this void ability, and if this could be an entire archetype. If we not only get a whole bunch of warp cards, but also a whole bunch of cards that have this void ability that makes the spells cost less if you're, you know, jumping through the right hoops, that's really interesting to me. It could just be a one-off, but it having this ability name of Void makes me think that it's not a one-off and that there's a whole subset of cards that do this, that function like this, and that just gets really exciting for me for deck building. So I'm excited to see the rest of the set, everything else that's spoiled, and see if I'm right about that, and if maybe we're going to get a whole bunch of these Void cards. But that's going to bring me to the second card, and the most prominent card that we're going to look at today. That's Dawnsire Sunstar Dreadnought. Now, like I said, we saw this card yesterday, at least the name and the art and the cost and the symbol, but everything else was covered up, and now we have the full card. So this is a 2020 legendary artifact spacecraft with station for 5 colorless mana, which means you can at any time at sorcery speed tap a creature to station it and put charge counters on the artifact equal to the power of whatever creature stationed. And you can do that with as many creatures as you want. More importantly, those charge counters stay, which means you could wait until you untap and then use the same creatures to station it again if you want, and it just keeps getting more and more charge counters. When it hits certain thresholds, things turn on for the cards. So once it gets to 10 plus charge counters, whenever you attack, Dawnsire deals 100 damage to up to 1 target creature or planeswalker, which is kind of an insane ability, right? You're automatically killing pretty much anything. Or if you have, like, I don't know, the red dude. Why can't I remember the name off the top of my head? If you guys remember the name of the red 3-drop that was in Duskmourn, that whenever it takes damage, you get to take that damage and throw it at your opponent's face. Remind me in the comments. I use it all the time. I can't believe I'm whiffing on the name here. But if you remember that card, definitely let me know the name in the comments, because I think I'm losing my mind. I should definitely remember that card, and I don't. Either way, you could just attack and trigger this if it's at 10 plus charge counters and do 100 damage to that thing, which would do 100 damage to your opponent's face. Maybe that's a fun way to build around this. But one thing I do want to point out is at 10 plus charge counters, it doesn't turn into a creature yet, okay? It's only when it gets to that 20 plus charge counters, then it gains flying and becomes the 2020 creature, which is also kind of insane. And it makes me wonder how good this might be, maybe with like Vigilance or something like that, because even though the Vigilance isn't necessarily going to be great to get you to that first 10 charge counters, because you tap your Vigilance creatures and then swing, and your Vigilance creatures can't swing in order to get this ability to trigger, or you attack first so that your Vigilance creatures can attack before you tap them to station this, but then you already attacked and don't get the trigger. So either way, Vigilance won't work super well for that 10 plus ability right away, but what it will work super well for is potentially after you get it to 10 plus charge counters, you can swing with this and your, or not swing with this rather, because it's not a creature yet, but swing with those Vigilance creatures to trigger this, and then after combat still tap those Vigilance creatures to station this again and potentially get it to that 20 plus afterwards. So Vigilance might be an interesting way of trying to utilize this, but I feel like there's going to be better ways. Fear of missing out is definitely going to hit hard with this thing. You get it to 10 plus charge counters. If you're getting an extra combat phase, this thing is triggering every time you attack for every combat phase. So any of those cards that get you extra combat phases could be absolutely bonkers with this 10 plus ability. But I just love the idea of like this thing sitting at like 15 counters or something, and then out of nowhere you just play a creature, tap it to put the rest of the counters on, and just swing for 20 in the air. And what's cool about that is because it's not a creature yet, your opponent can't use creature removal to kill it. So even if they board wipe or whatever, this thing is still sitting there with its 15, 16, 17 charge counters or whatever it might have. And then you just wait for the right time to just drop a creature, station to get it to 20, and just all of a sudden swing in with 20 in the air, which is going to be insane because you're allowed to dodge the removal on your way to get there. But since this was already in play for multiple turns, it won't have summoning sickness. So as soon as it hits that 20 plus, it can just attack in. You don't have to wait. So I do think there are a lot of really interesting ways to use this mechanic, to use a card like this, and I'm really excited to brew with it. So if you have ideas about how you'd like to brew with this, or what kind of, combinations or decks that this would be best in, definitely let me know in the comments. I think this card is pretty nuts, and I'm super excited to see what else is coming in the set. But spoiler season is starting proper tomorrow, so look forward to that. We're going to hit the ground running and get all of that information out to you guys. But that's going to do it for today's video. So thank you so much for checking it out. Like I said initially, I didn't expect to actually get any more leaks, any more spoilers before spoiler season started proper tomorrow. But lo and behold, it happened. So I put a video out to take care of you guys. Just make sure that you guys are completely up to date with all of the leaked information, all of the officially spoiled information, all that stuff. So please give the video a like, subscribe if you're new, tons of crazy content on the way, and I will see you guys tomorrow. I'd like to thank the sponsor of today's video, Wonders of the First. Wonders of the First is a brand new collectible card game similar to games like Magic the Gathering, Yu-Gi-Oh! And Pokemon, featuring a unique action-based resource economy that helps avoid pitfalls like Mana Flood or Mana Screw, and a battlefield containing multiple realms that unlock over time as you fight for control of the stones. The first 400 card set is called Existence, and they've even partnered with Star City Games to host their competitive play tour at every single SCGCon event starting in August. The game contains alternate borderless art variants, as well as highly sought after limited edition numbered prints, culminating in a one-of-one stone foil. And the best part is that the developers have a community-first approach with a card database and deck builder available via Cardio, as well as a version of the game available on Tabletop Simulator, all for free. For more information, be sure to check out wondersccg.com today. That's wondersccg.com. Thanks so much for checking out my channel. I'd like to give a huge shout out to all of my patrons over at Patreon. Without you guys, this channel would not be possible, so honestly, thank you from the bottom of my heart for all of your contributions. If you haven't yet, like and subscribe. The more likes we get and the quicker we get them, the bigger this channel will grow and the faster it will grow. I'd love nothing more than this channel to become something very special for you guys, but it's entirely up to you how fast that happens. Also, if you'd like more deck text, that's somewhere over there. And if you'd like to see what else the channel's been up to lately, that's somewhere up that way. Also, subscribe, circle below, do all the things.